Patitabam Vishame Bhavam Buddha, Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja, Stita Duli Sadrisham Vichintaya. And the translation: O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Yes, so, this is very heartfelt prayer for mercy on the basis of being in a fallen condition. Of course, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking, and obviously he's not at all in a fallen condition, to say the very least. But he's expressing himself as if he was just an ordinary person in this material world. And so, anyway, this is another example, really, of how we should feel. We should feel like that. We should not feel like overconfident, too overconfident, or just overconfident that yes, I'm a devotee, Krishna will look after me, no problem. So therefore I can sort of take it easy. And what did I mention? Did I mention last night? When prasadam is not available, I can go to where? Debonaires. Did I mention that? Did I? Yeah. Because I go to different places.
It was Sunday.
Debonaires. Have you heard of Debonaires? If you haven't, congratulations. But anyway, yes, right. So, right. The prayer is paraphrased, actually. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives just Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Shri Nitai Gaura Sundar Ki Jai. And, as of the first, it'll be Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Shri Nitai Gaura Sundar Shri Shaligram Shila Ki Jai. I don't know who'll come first, but yeah, that's what's happening. So there's a paraphrasing here, and just a slight expansion on what is stated, what we just read from the Siksastakam. And it goes like this: I am your eternal servant, but I forgot your lordship. Now I have fallen into the ocean of nescience and have been conditioned by the external energy. Be causelessly merciful to me by giving me a place with the particles of dust at your lotus feet, so that I may engage in the service of your lordship as your eternal servant. It's just a slight expansion. So, yes, last night we were talking about four sort of problematic conditions that we have, and the sort of the appropriate responses in Krishna consciousness to those conditions. I mean, we don't want to press any of you. Like, oh my God, I'm fallen. I'm extremely fallen. I'm too extremely fallen. Something like that. You know, these prayers of humility, they are really to inspire us and enliven us. And we should, like this one here, we should make this prayer ours, so to speak. We should repeat it regularly and accept it as being what it is, which is very appropriate for us. And really try and feel like that. Please pick me up. As Dr. Thakur puts it, be causelessly merciful to me by giving me a place for the particles of dust at your lotus feet. Yes, we should pray for mercy regularly. We really should. I mean, we really need to. And mercy is such a thing. You know, sometimes a distinction is made, or at least it's sort of expressed in two different ways. One is just mercy, and the other is causeless mercy. But really, if you think about it, if it's mercy, if it's really mercy, and not just what we deserve, what is, suitable for us, we worked for it, therefore we got it, then it's not really mercy. It's just, you got what you deserve. That's not mercy. It's like a business arrangement. You pay your certain amount of money, you get your product. And that's just, there's nothing. It's not like take a lot. Is being merciful to you. Or Valacra, or Amazon.co.za. They mercifully sold me at the right price a certain item, and they delivered it. No, then it's just business. And there's not a question of mercy. But if you don't deserve, you didn't pay the price, or even any price, but still you got something wonderful, that's mercy. Because you don't deserve it. And by definition, it's also causeless mercy. Because if there's like a real cause, in terms of, you did something so you deserve it, then it's no longer, it's certainly not causeless mercy, it's not even mercy, it's just, you got what you deserve. So we have some very interesting points here to mention. Here is a further expansion on the same verse, on the fifth verse of Siksastakam. O Lord Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, but now, as a result of my previous activities, I've fallen into this terrible ocean of material existence. Lust, greed, anger, and envy are my adversaries. They lurk in the woods like big fish to swallow me up. The rough waves of wasted hopes and anxiety are tossing me here and there, making my life miserable. Lashing gales of bad association experienced a bit of lust, greed, anger, envy. We've all experienced these things. Maybe we experienced something, one of them, or something even today. I don't know, but we know about these things and they know about us. So this is the type of mood that this verse of Siksastakam is really encouraging and, well, sort of instructing us, not just, why don't you give it a try, but actually instructing us. We should feel like this. Why? Well, because it's true. Yes, it's true. It's not just some colourful talk or some emotional outpourings, but it's just straightforward, pragmatic even, and it's just true. And you know what they say? Satyam eva jayate. Are you familiar with that? You're all Indian. It's the motto of the Indian government, or something like that. Satyam eva jayate. The truth is definitely victorious. Yes, so here we are in this material world, which is like an ocean, particularly this little expansion we just read. It's very specifically talking about life in this material world as being life in an ocean. And for that matter, the actual verse of Siksastakam is also talking about an ocean, just giving a little more detail. Here is something now, let's see. This is from Siksastakam. He says, occasionally in the ocean, a small bunch of seaweed can be seen floating by. These are the weeds of karma, jnana, yoga, tapasya, and so on, independent of Krishna. Because, we do bhakti yoga, but this is now that these terms are being used in terms of separation, disconnection from Krishna. Tapasya, austerity, getting up early in the morning. What time did you get up? Anyone? Do you want to say, or you might feel embarrassed? Anyway, okay. I'm sure you all got up. What time did I get up?
3:30.
3:30. Normally I get up at 3:21. That sounds a little silly, but it's actually a fact. I found it works better than 3:20, so 3:31. But I was a little sick, so I had an extra few minutes rest, and now I'm getting up at 3:30. Anyway, okay, so the weeds of karma. Karma in this context doesn't mean karma yoga as Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita. It just means karma, our either fruit of activities or the reactions of those. Jnana in this context means impersonal knowledge. Yoga doesn't mean bhakti yoga. It means something like Ashtanga yoga, that sort of thing, Hatha yoga, some exercise or something like that. Tapasya means just for the sake of being or appearing renounced, then we accept some austerity. But these things here are being compared to a small bunch of seaweed which is floating by in the ocean. Yes, so has anyone ever crossed this ocean of nescience by grasping these paltry weeds? All I've ever seen is that some persons, while trying to swim across this ocean, have reached out to hold these weeds for support, only to sink, seaweed and all, like dead weights. There is no other hope for safety other than your Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna's unlimited mercy. I know I'm going on and sort of repeating the same or similar things, but that's the point here. We've got to get these things through our heads. Yes. And so then he continues that the sturdy vessel, when you're in an ocean, you need a really sturdy vessel, strong vessel. The sturdy vessel of your holy name is the only means to cross over this dangerous ocean of material existence. Knowing this too well, I have acted. I begged passage aboard the ship of the Lord's holy name from my spiritual master. By his causeless mercy, it was awarded. Yes. So please, O Lord, please accept this homeless destitute. Cleanse me of all my faults and consider me a dust particle at your lotus feet. So the message of this shloka is that those who have been accepted by the Lord on the path of bhakti should never return to the ways of sense enjoyment and liberation, despite material difficulties. You know, Srila Prabhupada told a story about that, with that sort of theme. Actually, it's a story, not even really a story, but just an example, spoken by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada spoke it in the context of a morning walk. Somewhere in America, they're having a morning walk, not in a park, but just through some suburb, like a wealthy suburb with big houses, and parked in the road with some big motor cars. And there was one motor car called a Ford Thunderbird. And Srila Prabhupada asked the devotees, is there such a bird here in America, a Thunderbird? And the devotees said, well, we don't really know, but maybe it's something from, the local indigenous so-called Red Indian population, maybe, something like that. And Prabhupada said, in India, we have a Thunderbird, and it is called Chatak. It is called Chatak, and this bird, Chatak, it has very special and really extraordinary, like habit or practice, or sort of, like that, conviction even, you could say, that the Chatak only takes water when it's dropping from a cloud in the form of rain. Of course, on the ground, there's plenty of water around, there's lakes and things. But the Chatak never takes water from those. The Chatak only takes water from the clouds as it is falling from the clouds. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is Thunderbird. And Prabhupada said, even sometimes the cloud, it looks like it's going to rain, but it doesn't rain. Other times the cloud may give thunder and lightning, and the bird is right there under the cloud, and there's all this lightning, and it's, a really difficult situation. But the Chatak does not move, does not sort of relocate, stays with the rain cloud. So Srila Prabhupada said, and there's actually the same story is told by Srila Siksastakam. That's where Prabhupada gets it from. That similarly, the devotee, like the Chatak bird, the devotee only takes mercy from Krishna. In a sense, some mercy may be available from other sources, like the police may give protection. That's a type of mercy. There's some danger, you could say. But the devotee only takes shelter of Krishna. And Prabhupada said, even sometimes Krishna gives some thunder and lightning. Some test is there, but Krishna never looks elsewhere. Let me take shelter of some rich materialist, or someone like that. The devotee only takes mercy from Krishna. So like this particular prayer is really very appropriate, because Lord Chaitanya is definitely in that mood that I don't want mercy from anywhere else, from anyone else. I only want from you, my Lord. So we ourselves, devotees, in chanting this prayer, meditating on this prayer, this 5th verse of Siksastakam, we should bear this in mind very clearly, that this is really what it means to be like a serious devotee, as opposed to, we used to in England, when I was a new devotee, I'm still a new devotee, but anyway, we had the Sunday program, and some people, shall we just say, or say devotees, they would arrive, and at the end, this usual program, some kirtan, a class, then arti with kirtan, and then what? Prasadam. You guessed that. And some of these devotees or people would roll up right at the end of the arti as the peacock fan is being offered. So we used to refer to them, and they were regular, like pretty much every Sunday. We used to refer to them as Krishna's fan club, as they came to the fan. It was amazing that. So punctual. Only when the fan was being played. So, we don't want to be that sort of devotee. We want to try and be or become serious devotees, really committed devotees. And that's what this 5th verse is about. That, unfortunately, I got sort of caught out by Maya, by my own foolishness, and I just got sucked into material life. And then I ended up drowning in the material ocean. So my Lord, please deliver me. And Srila Prabhupada says a very interesting thing This is from one of his purports. The purport to the 6th canto, chapter 4, verses 27 and 28. I mean, if you like, or even if you don't like, you should just do it. Make a note of these things. 6, 4, 27 and 28. Prabhupada says, I mean, it's in the middle of a fairly substantial purport. Prabhupada says, being pleased with the devotee, the Lord turns all his material impediments into spiritual service. And then Prabhupada, this is now Prabhupada's purport. In this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes a verse from Vishnu Purana, Hladani Sandani Samvit, Twaye Sarva Samstitao, Hlada Tapa Kari Mishra, Twaye No Gunavarjate. And let me just read from Prabhupada's purport. In the material world, the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is manifested as, I hope you're tuned in, as tapa kari, which means causing miseries. Did you catch that? The spiritual energy of the Lord is manifested as that which causes miseries. The spiritual energy. Let's just see what the Prabhupada says further. Everyone hankers for happiness, but although happiness originally comes from the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the material world, because of material activities, the pleasure potency of the Lord becomes a source of miseries. And referring to the verse from Vishnu Purana, Hlada Tapakari, false happiness in the material world is the source of distress. But when one's endeavors for happiness are redirected toward the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this tapakari element of misery is vanquished. An example given in this connection is that extracting fire from wood is certainly difficult, but when the fire comes out, it burns the wood to ashes. In other words, experiencing the Supreme Personality of Godhead is extremely difficult for those devoid of devotional service. But everything becomes easier for a devotee, and thus the devotee can very easily meet the Supreme Lord. So the point is, I hope it wasn't too subtle or, even a little confusing. What are people enjoying when they try to enjoy in the material world? They are trying to enjoy the Hladani Shakti, the pleasure potency of the Lord. But it's all via the material energy. So that pleasure potency becomes all mixed up and contaminated and messed up. And so you get some pleasure, you get a little pleasure. Not a lot, but something is there. But then you get a lot of difficulty also. Yeah. So in this way, as Prabhupada said, the spiritual energy of the Lord, in this case the pleasure potency, manifests as that which causes miseries. Now, did you catch that? Or was it too difficult? Did you catch that? You sure? Would you like to explain it? Anyway, okay, that's what we call it. So that's a very, we may not have thought of the subject in those terms, but this is just Prabhupada's purport. So now, there are other, so in other words, we're sort of lost in the material world. This is what Lord Chaitanya is saying. I'm lost in this material world. So we are lost in the material world. And there are examples in Shastra of devotees and even great devotees who express the same sort of mood. I want to, if you don't mind, read a little, one or two other examples. This is now from the 11th chapter of the 6th canto, and I didn't put the verse number, but I think it's 23, maybe it's 24. Aham hare tava padaika mula, dasang daso bhavataspi bhuya, manas maletasu patirgunas te, grinita vakkarma karotu kaya. This is Vritrasura. Now, I don't know how many of you have reached the 6th canto in your readings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Have you reached the 6th canto yet? Not yet. Have you reached it? Have you reached it? Oh my gosh. Anyway, it's really nice. I recommend that you keep working at it because it is just amazing. This is Vritrasura, who is a great devotee. He's a great devotee. He met the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face and spoke with him. And the Lord spoke back to him. We have not reached that stage yet, have we? No. He did. But then, it's a long story, but he got cursed by Durga to become a demon. And he just transformed from this devotee into, a ghastly looking, gigantic demon, looking like that. But actually he was still a devotee at heart. So here he is expressing himself. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants, who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant, so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. And I'll just read a couple of sentences here from the purport. Listen to this. This is really quite a statement that Prabhupada begins the purport with. He says, this verse gives the sum and substance of devotional life. How's that? You couldn't really say a lot more in terms of just, asserting the great prominence and importance of the verse. So Prabhupada continues, one must first become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Das. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, and he also showed by his own example, that a living entity should always desire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. And Prabhupada goes on further that, I think you'll get the message from that. And then a couple of verses later, Interesting little point. Srila Jiva Goswami, in Priti Sandarbha, his essay on pure love of God, he refers to, there's 4 verses, I think 24, 25, 26, 27. Anyway, 4 verses, that was the first verse. And Jiva Goswami says, these are perfect prayers for a neophyte devotee. The last of those prayers is, O my Lord, my Master, I'm wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy that I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. So, and there's a couple of other verses too. And like I said, Jiva Goswami says, these are perfect prayers for a neophyte devotee. Any neophyte devotees here? Oh, we got some advanced devotees. Well, maybe you should be sitting here. Okay. Now I want to also, there's a couple more verses here, there's 3 more. These are actually from Yamunacharya, Stotra Ratna, very special devotee, spiritual master of, anyway, very special devotee. Yeah. And a couple of these verses are quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami in their appeals to Lord Chaitanya that you please give us mercy. So he says, and this is, read this carefully and try and take it into your heart. And, we should follow in the footsteps by learning prayers like these. So this is just one prayer he speaks. I am not a virtuous person, fixed in the principles of religious conduct, and neither am I a great transcendentalist, awakened to spiritual knowledge. In addition to this, I have not the slightest trace of devotion for your lotus feet. O refuge of the devotees, although I am so unqualified, please permit me to take shelter under your lotus feet, for I am now lost in this material world. I do not possess anything of value, and I have no place to turn. And now this next verse was repeated. It's from the same Stotra Ratna of Yamunacharya, written years and years ago, like 1,000 years or more. But 500 years ago, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami spoke this verse from the same book. So they're speaking together to Lord Chaitanya. Let us submit one piece of information before you, dear Lord. It is not at all false, but it is full of meaning. It is this: if you are not merciful upon us, then it will be very, very difficult to find more suitable candidates for your mercy. I hope you're absorbing this like sponges and just taking it in, because Krishna consciousness. I mean, it is pure Krishna consciousness. And then they repeat, that they continue. Without you, I have no master. And without me, you have no suitable candidate for your mercy. This is our eternal relationship, ordained by fate. O Lord, please protect me. Do not reject me. So anyway, devotees, I've read a lot, I know, but it's all just so rich, transcendentally rich. Try and get copies of the lecture and note down all these things and make a practice of repeating these things. You know, when we're chanting our japa, our 16 rounds, right? 16. Or then in between rounds, there is a practice which, well, you know, I can't say that I really found it exactly, you know, spoken by Prabhupada in any of his books or classes, but they said it comes from Prabhupada, that in between rounds, or let's say before your first round, you chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. To do this is a practice of, well, strictly speaking, you could say, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Yeah, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Whereas if you don't do it, if you just carry on with the next round, away you go, then they say it's more to do with Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. But anyway, don't start thinking you're ready for Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, because, you know, you're not. So don't worry about it. Therefore, it's a good idea, at the very least, it's a very good idea to chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra at the beginning when you're about to chant your first round, and then in between rounds all the way through to 16. Yes, because you'll get mercy. You'll get some mercy from them, which will help you to really enter into the next round. Now, having said that, there are other things you can do, which are not like big things that are going to take a long time at all. But, you know, they're things, they're very nice things, which will, if done attentively and nicely, they will enrich your Krishna consciousness in general, and they will enrich your chanting of, say, of your next round. For example, Srila Rupa Goswami has written a poem called Nam Ashtakam, which means 8 verses. Ashtakam, Ashta means 8. 8 verses, well, dedicated to the holy names. And they're really nice. I would strongly recommend that at least, you know, while you're chanting your rounds every day, at least every now and then, maybe every other round, or just maybe a couple of times, chant the Namashtakam. Because this will enrich your chanting and make the whole experience nicer and deeper if you recite these prayers nicely, attentively. If you don't, if you just sort of rattle them off, and while you're thinking about something else, then it won't have much effect. It'll probably have some effect, but it won't have much. But if you really focus on these things, including this 5th verse of Siksastakam, they will enrich your chanting. And you know what? Your 16 rounds will become easier and nicer. Have you ever had the experience of looking at your counting beads, at 7 o'clock in the evening, and saying, oh my God, I've still got 2 rounds to do. Oh no. Did it ever happen to you? Probably did. Yeah, well, at least it's only 2 rounds. But if it's 6 rounds or 8 rounds, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and then it's challenging. So chanting 16 rounds every day, along with whatever else is going on in your life, at least sometimes it can be challenging to one degree or another. But these types of verses, like this 5th verse of Siksastakam, the verses I just read from Vritrasura, and these other, Ashtakam, which I mentioned, and there are other verses actually, or prayers to the holy names. They will enrich your chanting, give you inspiration more for chanting, and make it easier for you to become absorbed in chanting. And when you become absorbed, and you're just, it's just you and the holy names, and that's all, and you're just really going nicely together. That means you're really making progress. And chanting your rounds becomes just like nectar. And you'll actually look forward to it. You'll really look forward to it every day. So there you go, devotees, some thoughts on this 5th verse of Siksastakam. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada K.